The Star Wars saga has been examined for decades, yet the wildest theories keep surfacing, revealing cracks where the Force might be hiding something unseen. Today we're diving straight into every crazy Star Wars theory that might actually be true. These theories range from officially acknowledged hints to pure fan speculation. Enjoy the mystery. Palpatine created Anakin. This theory refuses to fade away. It begins with that chilling story Palpatine tells about Darth Plagueis, a Sith Lord who could manipulate midi-chlorians to create life. That single line ignited years of debate. Many believe Anakin was not born by accident, but engineered through the dark side, the ultimate Sith experiment. Shmi Skywalker swore there was no father, but the Darth Vader comics complicated everything. In one eerie vision, Palpatine stands over her pregnant form, hands raised as if shaping life itself. The image never confirms the act outright, yet it lingers long enough to make you wonder whether the Force birth was truly divine or sinister. Even the prequels quietly support the idea. Palpatine's fascination with Anakin feels oddly personal, as though he is not just mentoring a prodigy, but watching a creation grow. When he says, "We will watch your career with great interest," it reads like more than political curiosity. It feels like a father speaking through a mask of authority. George Lucas never confirmed it, and the comics writer claimed the vision was symbolic rather than literal. Still, the implication changes everything. If Palpatine truly played God, then the prophecy of the Chosen One was never divine balance. It was corruption disguised as destiny. Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord. Here's a theory that turned from meme to madness. Jar Jar Binks, the clumsy fool from Naboo, was never stupid at all. He was a hidden Sith Lord. It began in 2015 when a Reddit post laid out evidence that Jar Jar was secretly manipulating events behind the scenes. In Attack of the Clones, he's the one who grants Palpatine emergency powers, handing the galaxy to the future Emperor. That single vote changes everything. Then there's his athleticism. Jar Jar flips, dodges blaster fire, and survives chaos no Gungan should. His so-called clumsiness looks more like precision in disguise, the kind of effortless movement we usually associate with Jedi or Sith. George Lucas once said Jar Jar was the key to all of this, which suddenly sounds like a warning. Actor Ahmed Best later revealed there were darker plans for Jar Jar's arc before fan backlash forced Lucasfilm to drop it. Some even point to a deleted scene showing him speaking privately with Palpatine. Too calm, too confident, and far too suspicious. The pattern fits too neatly to dismiss. His uncanny luck, his political rise, and his timing in every major decision all paint a picture of someone pulling strings instead of tripping over them. Jar Jar's bumbling persona might have been the perfect mask. No one suspects a fool. Whether he was a Sith mastermind or a walking accident blessed by chaos, the idea remains haunting. The galaxy may have fallen not because of Palpatine's brilliance, but because the biggest joke in Star Wars was never a joke at all. Mace Windu lives. Few Star Wars deaths have inspired more debate than this one. Mace Windu's fall from Palpatine's office window wasn't the end. Some fans claim it was the beginning. After being blasted with Force lightning and hurled into the endless cityscape of Coruscant, most assumed he was gone. Yet the theory insists Mace survived, broken, scarred, and hiding in the shadows. Samuel L. Jackson himself has kept this idea alive. He's repeatedly said Windu lived, and even claimed George Lucas once told him it was possible. When you think about it, it fits the Star Wars pattern. Darth Maul was cut in half and still came crawling back. Why not Mace, who was arguably stronger and far more disciplined? There was never a funeral, never a body, only a flash of light and a long fall into traffic. The theory suggests he disappeared intentionally, living out his years in exile while watching the Empire rise. Some fans imagine him surviving as a hermit, quietly training new Jedi or waiting for a moment to strike back. Others say his survival would explain how Jedi legends and Force knowledge endured after Order 66. Maybe Mace became the ghost mentor who passed fragments of the old ways into secret circles. There's no official confirmation, but that's what keeps the idea alive. In a universe where Darth Maul can return from the dead and Palpatine can clone himself, a missing Jedi falling into the streets of Coruscant hardly feels final. If anyone could survive the Emperor's wrath, it's the man who almost killed him. Mace Windu might not be gone. He might just be waiting. Leia always knew Luke was her brother. This theory reinterprets one of the strangest relationships in the saga. The idea is simple. Leia always knew, at least on some level, that Luke was her brother. It all comes from that quiet line in Return of the Jedi. Somehow, I've always known. Fans have spent decades dissecting what she meant. Was it intuition, the Force, or guilt over their earlier kiss? The theory argues that Leia's connection to Luke ran far deeper than she realized. From the moment they met, their bond felt different. Leia sensed him through the Force across vast distances, hearing his voice in The Empire Strikes Back when he hung helpless beneath Cloud City. That's not normal communication. It's something instinctive, almost biological. The Force is known to link family members, and Leia's sensitivity to it might have translated into a feeling she couldn't name. When she kissed Luke on Hoth, some believe it was a subconscious attempt to push back against those confusing emotions. It wasn't attraction, it was denial. Her instincts were trying to warn her, but her rational mind couldn't see it. The irony makes the reveal even more powerful. The Force had been whispering the truth all along, and Leia was simply too human to interpret it clearly. By the time Luke tells her they're siblings, she isn't surprised. Her reaction is calm, resigned, almost relieved. The Force bond between them had always been there, humming in the background of every scene, waiting for the truth to catch up. It's one of those theories that makes you look back and realize the clues were never hidden. They were in every glance, every rescue, and every spark of recognition that passed between the twins who never knew they were family. Until they did. Okay, if you're still here, you're probably into this stuff, and that's great. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Alright, back to the video. The Endor Holocaust. At first glance, the end of Return of the Jedi feels like a celebration. Fireworks, music, and Ewoks dancing around bonfires. But according to one theory, that victory scene hides something far darker. It's called the Endor Holocaust. The idea is that when the second Death Star exploded, it didn't vanish harmlessly into space. It rained destruction across the moon below. Fans with backgrounds in physics and astronomy have broken it down in chilling detail. The explosion would have sent millions of tons of debris hurtling toward Endor at incredible speed. Even small fragments could have carried the kinetic energy of nuclear weapons. Between atmospheric entry, thermal shock, and radiation, the lush forests would have ignited like dry tinder. The Ewok villages perched high in the trees wouldn't have stood a chance. The same battle that freed the galaxy might have wiped out the moon's entire ecosystem within hours. The theory reframes the ending as a tragedy disguised as triumph. The rebels celebrate their victory, unaware that the very sky above them is falling. The fireworks we see could even be the burning remains of the Death Star, drifting down in slow, deadly fragments. It's a haunting contrast. The Empire destroyed, yet its ashes poisoning the world that helped end it. The Ewoks' song of victory becomes, in hindsight, a funeral hymn for a planet they didn't realize was doomed. Of course, canon never confirms this. In later media, Endor appears untouched and thriving. But the physics, at least, tells a different story. One where the true cost of the rebellion's victory was far higher than anyone imagined. Sometimes, Star Wars hides its darkest truths behind a curtain of celebration. Finn is Force-sensitive. When The Force Awakens was released, fans thought they were watching the rise of another lightsaber-wielding hero. Finn held the blade, fought Kylo Ren, and seemed destined for something bigger. But as the sequels unfolded, his story drifted, until clues began pointing towards something deeper. This theory claims that Finn was always Force-sensitive. The signs are subtle, but they're there. He senses danger before it happens. He feels Rey's pain from across distances, and he reacts to the Force's pull without training or guidance. Even his ability to break through First-Order brainwashing seems extraordinary, as if the Force itself helped him resist control. J.J. Abrams eventually confirmed that Finn was going to tell Rey a secret, that he could feel the Force. The novelization of The Rise of Skywalker spells it out even more clearly. Finn wasn't meant to be a sidekick. He was meant to be an awakening. The way he handles a lightsaber isn't elegant, but it's instinctive. He faces Kylo Ren, a trained dark side warrior, and lasts longer than any ordinary soldier could. That courage, that connection, feels guided by something beyond reflex or willpower. The theory reshapes his entire arc. Finn isn't just another rebel who defected from the First Order. He's a rare spark, a sleeper Force user who defied destiny without even realizing it. His bond with Rey takes on new meaning through this lens. Maybe they weren't drawn together by circumstance. Maybe the Force connected them the same way it linked Leia and Luke. Finn's journey was never about bloodlines or prophecy. It was about awakening. Quiet, reluctant, and completely real. Obi-Wan recognized R2-D2 and C-3PO. Here's a theory that turns one quiet moment into a galaxy-sized mystery. When Luke first brings R2-D2 to Obi-Wan in A New Hope, the old Jedi smiles and says, "I don't seem to remember ever owning a droid." On the surface, it sounds harmless, but fans have never bought it. Obi-Wan knew these droids. He fought alongside them during the Clone Wars. R2-D2 wasn't just another astromech, he was Anakin's constant companion. And C-3PO was literally built by the boy Obi-Wan trained. The theory argues that Obi-Wan's calm denial was not forgetfulness, it was strategy. He recognized them instantly, but chose not to reveal it. Think about it. If Luke learned too soon that his father had once been a Jedi, the truth could have shattered everything before the time was right. Obi-Wan needed to guide him carefully, step by step. His behavior makes perfect sense under that lens. When R2 projects Leia's message, Obi-Wan doesn't react with confusion. He looks thoughtful, almost nostalgic. He knows exactly who she is, who the droid belongs to, and what it means. Later, when R2 hacks Imperial systems on the Death Star, Obi-Wan barely blinks. That's not surprise, it's familiarity. The man who once led entire campaigns with that same droid by his side was simply pretending not to know. George Lucas didn't originally plan for this backstory when A New Hope was written, but within canon, the pieces fit beautifully. Obi-Wan's silence feels deliberate, the careful restraint of a man protecting a fragile truth. He wasn't lying out of deceit, but out of purpose. After all, the first lesson of the Force isn't power, it's patience. Ahsoka is stronger than Vader. Few duels in Star Wars carry the emotional weight of Ahsoka Tano facing Darth Vader on Malachor. The moment their lightsabers cross, you can feel it. Not hatred, but heartbreak. And that is exactly where this theory begins. The idea is that Ahsoka wasn't only holding her own against Vader, she was winning. Not physically, but emotionally. Her strength came from restraint. She fought not to destroy Anakin, but to reach the last trace of him buried beneath the mask. Every strike was precise, measured, almost sorrowful. When her blade cracks his helmet and exposes part of his face, we see the truth. The voice that comes through isn't Vader's robotic snarl. It's Anakin's voice breaking through. For a brief second, Ahsoka succeeds where Obi-Wan failed. She reconnects with the man he used to be. The theory argues that if Ahsoka had fought without hesitation, Vader would not have survived that duel. Her skill, focus, and control were unmatched, yet compassion held her back. That empathy, the refusal to kill her former master, became her greatest strength and her greatest limit. Vader, on the other hand, was unstable. His power came from pain, not clarity. Ahsoka's discipline was purer, more centered, the kind of strength that flows from balance rather than rage. In many ways, she represented what the Jedi were supposed to be, what Anakin could never fully become. So maybe she didn't lose that fight, maybe she won in the only way that mattered. She reached him, saw the human beneath the armor, and forced the dark side to tremble for a heartbeat. In the end, Ahsoka walked away alive, while Vader was left haunted. Sometimes victory isn't about the blade, it's about the soul that refuses to give up. Vader's redemption was orchestrated by the Force. Most fans see Anakin Skywalker's story as tragedy, a hero who fell and found his way back. But this theory says it was never his choice. Every step from birth to redemption was guided by the Force itself. Anakin's life was filled with impossible coincidences: a virgin birth, visions that shaped the galaxy, and love that doomed him. None of it feels random. The Force may have used his pain and downfall as tools to restore balance. When Luke faces him on the Death Star, it isn't free will. It's prophecy completing its cycle. Vader's hesitation, Luke's compassion, and Palpatine's arrogance all move in perfect sync, like a script written by the Force. If true, Anakin wasn't redeemed by choice. He was fulfilling destiny, a weapon forged to bring balance through suffering. And perhaps that's why history keeps repeating. Because balance is never permanent, only borrowed. Leia is stronger in the Force than Luke. Luke may have been the galaxy's hero, but this theory says Leia was the true Force prodigy. Even without formal training, she sensed Luke's pain on Cloud City and felt his presence across light years. That level of awareness points to a natural connection few Jedi ever reach. In The Rise of Skywalker, we learned she trained with Luke and built her own lightsaber, yet chose diplomacy over battle. Not because she was weaker, but because she understood the Force wasn't meant for domination, it was meant for guidance. Leia's power was quiet, emotional, and deeply human. Where Luke relied on instinct and passion, she relied on wisdom and restraint. The theory paints her as the ultimate Jedi, one who mastered the Force not by fighting, but by knowing when not to. Star Wars will always leave us guessing. Some of these theories might be wild, others could be true, hidden between the frames. That's what keeps this galaxy alive. Mystery. If you enjoyed this dive into the strange and the possible, hit subscribe and join me for more stories that challenge what we think we know about the Force. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.